Back in 2016, Mosilo Mothepu exposed corruption involving Trillian Capital Management, Eskom and Transnet. Now, 4 years later, she's paid a huge price, having been persecuted, faced criminal charges, and she is still without a job. So does she have any regrets? Well, Mosilo joins us now for this exclusive interview. Mosilo, thanks very much for your time on this de facto Women's Day here on the AM Report. I want you to take us back to September 2016 and the climate that led to you taking that decision to come forward.
Good morning, Michelle, and good morning to your viewers, and happy Women's Day. Yes, you've summed my journey quite well. Yes, the climate in 2016 was, as I always say, South Africa was burning. The Guptas were basically in charge of the country, and I knew that Jacob Zuma was going to fire Nhlanhla in October 2015, hence my nickname, the Nenegate Whistleblower. And I knew also, once we moved from Regiment's capital to Trillian, that the president also wanted to fire the Minister of Finance, who was now Pravin Gordhan. And I think the Archbishop and I think some of the opposition parties had complained to the former public protector, Thuli Madonsela, and I saw that she only got half her budget from the National Treasury. So I was in Egypt, having resigned from Trillian after having seen corruption at its grandest, from Eskom, as you've said, without a contract with Mackenzie. Trillian had no contract with Eskom or Denel or South Africa Express, SA Express. But they were invoicing billions of rands. And I had to decide what part of history do I want to be in. You know, there's a saying, for evil, the only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for good men, and on this day, a good woman to do nothing. And I decided to cut my holiday short, and I had to go, and I met the public protector, and I also met Pravin Gordhan's advisor, who was Jean Ravelli at the time, to tell him that I suspected that those fraud charges about his time at SARS and granting Ivan Pillay that early retirement was an advance to essentially get him fired, so that he can step aside, so that the absolute completion of capturing the National Treasury would take place. And as you've said, the journey has cost me everything. I always say, if you haven't had a criminal charge in the last 10 years, or you've been sidelined or fired or suspended, you are complicit. Because when you look at state capture, it's a designed, orchestrated project by the state, using state machinery, whether it's the NPA. I was hounded by the horse. And you ask yourself, Trillian charged me with 9 separate criminal charges, cybercrime, because I had forwarded some of my emails to my own personal account so that I can give them to my Madonsela and my lawyers. I was charged with conspiracy, corruption, fraud, and the constable who called me told me that because of who these people were, because of their political connections and because of the political environment, he is being pressurized to expedite my case. So that is the reality of what strong black, white South Africans who stand against corruption, individuals in positions of power, weaponize state institutions to essentially silence us and intimidate us. And in my case, almost bankrupting me, because my law fees were 1.3 million rand. And, you know, Michelle, for me, I was very disappointed that I was overcharged by my attorney, but also there were no NGOs that could help, except maybe the Legal Resource Center, but their contribution, whilst I'm very grateful for them, was only 900 Rand an hour. And you know, lawyers cost anything between 3,000 and 4,000 an hour. But through the grace of God, because I believe my decision was God's grace and purpose, and He gave me the conviction to come forward. I had a French-based NGO, CLAF. They support African whistleblowers. They also support Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, and they essentially reduced my bill from Werksman's attorneys from 1.4 million to 700,000, and they paid them off. So that was just a miracle from God. But also, as you said, the cost, you know, corporate SA is so loud, and they say we support men, women of integrity. It's in their ethos to do business using best practices. But in reality, that's not the case. I was unemployed from 2016, June to July 2018. For 2 years, I had no salary. I was a professional job seeker. I have 16 years experience. I have a BCom honors from WITS in corporate finance and investment. I'm an infrastructure financier. I mean, you can just look at the Transnet, they call it 1064 locomotive projects. I originated and put together that 12 billion Rand loan. We look at OR Tambo, the central terminal building. I put together that loan from Agence Française Development of 85 million euros. So that during the 2010. So if I can pat my back, I'm a qualified, competent woman. But because when you Google my name, I'm controversial. I've been told that I'm a politically exposed person. So I was almost bankrupt, but finally, I think through one article in the Financial Mail.
Mosilo, I'm going to interrupt you there for just a moment, because we need to take a short breather, but we're going to continue our discussion with you in just a moment. Mosilo Mothepu, in 2016, if the name rings a bell, she's the one who exposed corruption involving Trillian Capital Management, Eskom and Transnet. We continue our discussion with her after this. Don't go away. And we're continuing our discussion now with Mosilo Mothepu, who exposed corruption involving Trillian Capital Management, Eskom and Transnet. She still joins us via our video link. Mosilo, and you know, before we went to break just a moment ago, you were telling me about how you were hounded by Trillian. You had several charges against you. You were hounded by the hawks, and you yourself have said that if you worked in the sector you worked in back in 2016 and you didn't have any charges brought against you, that you weren't hounded out of your job, that you essentially were a party to state capture. How do you pick up the pieces after everything that has happened to you?
I pick up the pieces because I'm a woman of faith, and I've seen people, strangers actually, who have shown me kindness. One was Rob Shooter, from the CEO of MTN. He read an article about me, and in 2016, in July, I was brought in as a contractor at MTN in Treasury. So he did something so fantastic, and you know, I always say, we need active citizens. We need a citizenry that doesn't hashtag hire Mosilo, because there were many of those. But he read an article about me and he acted. And I was at MTN for 21 months, and my contract came to an end in March. And now I find myself not having a job, but Michelle, I think I'm using this year. I'm writing a book, so I've been offered a publishing deal. So sometime in April 2021, the public will be able to read my memoirs of the true cost of integrity.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can say I've picked up the pieces. I can say that I'm stronger. I've grown. And I said, you know what? I've had support. To the point where I had a call from the Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa when he read about me, and he wanted to find out how he could help. So he has also assisted me throughout my journey. He actually offered to walk with him. So he said I had 90 minutes to walk with him in the morning. So I've essentially put my walking shoes and I'm waiting for the president to call, because I just need him to understand that state institutions were used.
Yeah.
You need to protect whistleblowers, security, and even looking at other countries and their legislation, for example, like the US, they have incentives for whistleblowers. So if you blow the whistle and the state recoups the funds, you are eligible to between 10 and 30% of that. And there's such a sophisticated plan, but we have legislation which I have to say to our legislators is not worth the paper it's written on. If it was, I would not have gone through what I had gone through right now.
Mosilo.
But also corporate SA,
yeah.
you need to protect us. You have Themba Maseko, he's not employed. He stood up against the Guptas. You have Sylvia Stenfeld, she was the SAA treasurer. She stood up against Dudu Mwene, she's not employed. You have Bianca Goodson, my good sister and fellow colleague, not working. You have me not working. So that is a common thread. Corporate SA does not like controversy. So the price we pay, we risk our lives and our livelihoods for this beautiful democracy, because we decided to say no. And I challenge all corporates, civil society, NGOs, to take a stand. And I don't want a hashtag. I want people to act, restore our dignities, give us jobs so we can make a meaningful contribution to South Africa, because we fought for it.
Mosilo, what does justice look like for someone like you, someone who put everything on the line to come forward with information around state capture? We know that the story of state capture is still unfinished. The perpetrators of state capture have yet to be prosecuted. What does justice on the grandest scale look like for Mosilo Mothepu?
First of all, justice for me, on a personal note, is to restore my dignity. And for me to actually wake up and somebody give me a chance so that I can also have a livelihood. But for the country as a whole, and we need to be recognized. You know, they call us whistleblowers. Well, we are warriors, we are fighters, and we won, by the way. We have scars because we were on the battlefield against the state. Justice is slowly turning. I had the honor of meeting Shamila Bitoy in March at a function in Cape Town by the Daily Maverick. And, you know, I jokingly said to her, she still owes me a certificate of non-prosecution. And I said, it's quite sad that the only case that the NP and the Hawks in the last 10 years have investigated thoroughly was mine, which was the whistleblower. But there was even talk of immunity, and I said, no, absolutely no immunity. We need to be patient, and I am also very frustrated. I've had meetings with the Asset Forfeiture Unit, the Hawks, the NPA, the FBI. I got Salim on that list that was sanctioned by the US. So I can see that my efforts are slowly bringing those who are responsible to book. But their assets have to be stripped, and they have to be wearing those orange overalls. As the Archbishop did say, that 2020 should be the year of red overalls. But concerning to me as well is, what protection will the state and what reward will the state give me and my fellow comrades who will have to testify in court to get these people to book? Because as I speak now, they have completely failed us. I sit, I have no security, I fear for my life. As I drive, if anyone follows me, I have to take a different turn. I don't use my phone because I was told that it was bugged, so I only use certain WhatsApp. So it's like, once you decide to fight corruption, you become an enemy of the state. So justice will be orange overalls and assets being frozen and given back to the state, but also a reward for us who stood against this machinery that was so well oiled and so well orchestrated at the grandest scale.
Absolutely. It seems only fair. Mosilo Mothepu is former Trillian CEO. She's the one who blew the whistle on corruption amounting to around 600 million rand between Trillian Capital Management and Eskom. Eskom, we understand, still trying to recoup those funds. Patience is what she is asking for, and I suppose patience is what she needs as well, as we all wait for justice around state capture. That was an exclusive interview right here on Newzroom Afrika.